morning. Thanks for being here. I apologize for my voice. I'm still a little raspy and hoarse from the game. I got a slight cold and head cold as well, so my apologies. Very happy with the win this past Saturday. Going into this past week, we wanted to build off of probably our best 4 quarters against Akron, take our show on the road, and get our first conference road win. And the guys did very, very well to get that done, accomplished. Unbelievable effort by our defense. As I mentioned, the build off the Akron win and also the road win, but also get a couple of guys back. And I say that because we got a couple of guys back in the secondary. Those two guys were Torrey Cox and Zach Sanders. Those two young men combined for 4 interceptions. I think Zach had a sack as well. So neither one of those guys played against Akron, and to get those two young men back in the secondary made a huge difference. I'm on record as saying most of all fall camp, certainly coming out of spring practice, that our front seven on defense, I thought we were going to be able to disrupt the quarterback and make quarterbacks uncomfortable. You look at the numbers just from a sack standpoint, tackles for losses, that was on full display Saturday. I thought their quarterback looked uncomfortable. That makes the back end, you don't have to cover as long. And so I think a couple of those interceptions were from him being uncomfortable. And so it's a total team effort. We all know that, but defensively, outstanding. Offensively in the game, I thought first half we did what we wanted. We were on schedule. And Curtis come out, just doing what Curtis does. I think hit his first 10 to 12, 13 passes, something like that. And overcome a holding penalty. Were able to get a touchdown. And then the second half did not play very well. I tip my hat to Western Michigan, made a couple adjustments offensively. We didn't play well. And Western Michigan's defense had a lot to do with that. Their front seven was very good. They're good in the back end. I was concerned about their pass rush going into the game with our two young tackles, and they did a good job. But I thought Curtis showed a lot of toughness, particularly in the second half. They hit him around. He did the best he could, and just from the field position game, the turnovers was a difference in the game. We're happy with the win. From what I understand, Nathaniel is MAC East Special Teams Player of the week with a huge 55-yard field goal under 10 seconds to go. We weren't sure if we wanted to take the shot. They had timeouts left at midfield. Really, all they had left was Hail Mary. I said, let's do it. He certainly got the leg. I've seen him do it in practice, and he's able to make the kick, which was huge. And then CA, I believe, is also MAC East Player of the Week offensively. So we're excited about that. With those comments, I'll open it up for questions.
Alrighty, please introduce yourself before you ask.
Eric Decker with the Athens Messenger. Coach, the offense has deservedly gotten a ton of credit this year, but then you just mentioned in a game like last week, the kicking game has also been incredibly efficient this year. So what have you just thought of Nathaniel this whole season so far?
Yeah, he's as good as built. He's a highly recruited young man out of high school. In one of those recruiting services, was the #1 high school kicker in the country. You think about that. And I think it shows. Just a quick story on Nathaniel. Akron game, he missed the extra point, I believe. And he comes off the sideline and he says, man, I was just a couple away from 300 straight. Which, you think about that. He was just a couple away from 300 straight extra points. And I'll just start another streak, and roll off the sideline. The dude just he gets it. It doesn't get too high, it doesn't get too low. He just he's disappointed, but he looked at the film. I'll just start another streak. Off he goes. And so it's like, it's like with any position in football, you got to have a short memory. Corners got to have a short memory. Kickers got to have a short memory. And I just like his maturity, where he is mentally on those types of things. So, but he's very talented, and we're excited we got him.
Aiden Crowley, WEB. Coach, you mentioned the offense kind of slowing in the second half, and it felt like in this game the switched, like your defense was really picking up for the offense. What does that mean to win both ways?
Yeah, I think it's very exciting, because of just some of the scores, and defenses had trouble. Fordham, Akron, Kent State, and the offense has tried to, keep the foot on the gas and keep us in the games, which they've been able to do. They've been great for the fans, and that's very exciting for Ohio football. But middle of the third quarter, the defense was getting after. You could tell, you could see it in their eyes, and they kept building off of it. And we got the first turnover and the second one, and it was just a frenzy out there. So it was really a lot of fun to watch those guys get after it and show what they're capable of. Hopefully we can build off of what they got done this past Saturday.
Ashley Beach with the Post. I want to jump back to Nathaniel. How does it help your team to have that reliable piece of the puzzle?
I think just comparing where we are this year, with that unit compared to last year, it's a huge change. It gives us an element, and offensively, there's some strategy, particularly when it's windy. And we've had more than our share of windy games. It seems like this year I had one in Athens against Fordham. We were back and forth on what to do with the coin toss. Probably more discussions on the coin toss this year than we have had playing Iowa State. There was some wind, and that's a direct reflection on the extra point field goal game. The Suns had a little bit to do with it as well, but to Nathaniel, it just brings us up. Hey, we'd like to have that win in the fourth quarter. It's going to be a tight game, and so you got the wind. You got a chance for a long one, like the 55-yarder. It's unfortunate the Kent game. We had a huge wind there, and we're able to get the ball to midfield. There in that last drive, but. He's been a weapon for us in those situations.
You mentioned earlier that you credited some of the turnovers to the defensive line play, but in terms of defensive secondary, do you think it was more the defensive game plan that led to those turnovers, or just those athletes going to make?
Yeah, I think I'll probably have to stick with the first part of that. I mean, Torrey's interception his first one was unbelievable. Tight coverage. I think he got his hand in there and the ball got tipped, and he's able to catch it. I mean, just making the catch there, and then stay on his feet, like he did. Shows tremendous athleticism, and he's very capable. I was bragging on him a lot early. Penn State, Iowa State. He was coming on. He's a redshirt freshman. Again, he's got great hand-eye coordination. You'll see him be a returner for us at some point in time. The second one, I think he showed. I mean, the guy looked open. It was a good throw. He just accelerated. He did the old Deion Sanders. He's open, and then the ball was released, and it's far enough down the field that he hit the gas and got in front of it, and then made a great toe tap on the sideline. And then I can't recall both. I know one of Zach's was a tip ball. Kaim D-line, the ball got tipped, got up in the air. And he's able to get up and high point the ball. I tell you, on those 4 interceptions from those two guys, if it wasn't for number 5 for Western Michigan, I think a couple of those would have went to the house. The naked eye might not catch that, but one of their receivers, he can really run. If we would have got him covered up, we would have had a couple pick sixes there from those picks. That's a tremendous effort by that young man.
Maria Manesi, WAB. Coach, back-to-back wins for the first time this season. How do you think that momentum will kind of carry in this week against Northern Illinois?
Yeah, we're hopeful that it does. I certainly challenged the guys at after the game. just like I did after the Akron game. Hey, that's 4 pretty good quarters. Let's make it 8. And after this game, hey, that's eight pretty good quarters. You know, I'm disappointed with how we finished in the offensively in the second half. Don't get me wrong. We got to coach better. But with the win, it's a team win, and that's going to be the message. We're very, very excited about coming home. The student section, it's going to be great weather. Senior day for our guys. I'm just very happy for those guys and for Michael Stevens and his team to Jacob to move that from late in the year, action on a Tuesday night, letting those guys come and do it on a Saturday. Talking with Miss Cromer, I thought that was an outstanding adjustment that they've made so that we can honor those guys with a great crowd, conference game. And it just happens to be, with Coach Solch's dedication of the field naming. So should be just a great weekend. And we're looking for another sellout crowd and loud. And we're playing the defending MAC champs in Northern Illinois.
Coach, the defense had one of its best performances of this season this past weekend. What do you look to build on from that?
Just watching the tape, the effort better be there. Now, I'll tell you the Akron game, the defense broke down to like day 2 install stuff, some pursuit drills that maybe were a little bit lacking in the Akron game. I thought we were back to doing some fundamental things, just running to the ball. But the back end part of this, getting Zach back and getting Torrey back, it gave us a little bit bigger call sheet with coverages, and you got a quarterback that doesn't have a lot of experience, showing some different looks, and then just making some plays on the ball, we started basically maybe 3 freshmen in the back end against Akron, for sure 2. So we're hopeful we can still get a couple guys back in the back end. We're hoping to get Tariq back at some point in time. Adonis didn't make the trip. And if we're able to do those things, I think defensively there's some great things to build off of.
Coach, you mentioned that Northern Illinois game. They got a pretty explosive offense, just kind of going off the defense a little bit. But what challenges does that offense present for your team?
Yeah, they're a very, very physical group, both sides of the ball. And offensively, I think their time of possession in Coach Hammock's time there, they win the time of possession. They pound the running game, great play action. They're just a physical group that's hard to simulate. You got to have your scout team's got to do a great job. You got to have 2 and 3 tight ends down there with the scout team to give looks. So we're going to be challenged from a physical standpoint, and then holding up for 4 quarters, and then just see how the time of possession goes in the ball game. They're scoring points. They've had some trouble at quarterback. Rocky Lombardi started the season, got banged up, played, if I wrote down, 20 snaps last week in the game, and they turned it over to the Lynch kid, who's very, very talented, transfer from Temple. Defensively, will be challenged with just their style of offense and us trying to replicate that in practice throughout the week. Defensively, I would return 7 starters, 3 all-league guys in the back end. Get after the passer. You got to be careful in just looking at their record. You got to know what you're looking at. You got to be careful of what you're looking at, just stat-wise, because you got to look at some scores, who they played, just like anybody in the MAC. You got to. Okay, and I wrote down a couple of things. Northern they're up 21-7 at halftime against Vanderbilt. SEC team up 35-21 late in the game at Tulsa. All right, 14-14 halftime versus Kentucky. Up 31-14 versus Ball State, and then Toledo. They had 4 interceptions by one guy, 2 for pick sixes. So. I know what the record is, but I also know that, they're 0-6 during COVID. They win 9 games. They're our conference champion. Coach Hammock's done an unbelievable job with the roster. They are going to look like they're going to be the best looking football team in our conference. They're going to look like Iowa State in a uniform when they are long, athletic, and can run to the football. So, I know. I know what the stats say. I know what the record is, but it's a MAC team, and they're the top of the bunch. So it will be a huge challenge.
Coach, you kind of just mentioned the MAC play. There's a couple interesting scores through the weekend. One of them, that big BG upset. How is kind of the landscape of the MAC played out for you?
It's just, right now all I know is the teams that we played, and then the scores, just like you do. Okay, so the teams that we played, I've seen Ken on film, Western on film, and now Northern here yesterday and this morning, and then of course Akron. So I can't give you a lot in the East, but I just know you look at last year's scores, you look where the league is this year, unbelievable for the fans. It's going to be exciting. I think a lot of the scores got to do with, I know. All right. So, I know what the scores have to do with it. Injuries and who you played. And so that's going to have a lot to do with what your record is. You can throw Kent State in there and who they've played. All right. And then who's been banged up and where they are right now. And you can just go every school in our conference. That's got as much to do with it. You don't really know in our conference until the last 3 ball games, because guys, if they get guys back and they don't, or they had maybe a little bit lighter schedule early, or have a year where they just don't have a lot of injuries. That has got as much to do with some of the stuff that you're seeing as anything.
Coach, I want to take a few steps back. So we talked about the offense is really going and the defense is really going. What do you got to do to get them to go together for full 4 quarters?
Well, that would be an awesome thing. If you have any insight on that, please grab me after this, and I'll be sure and take notes. But that's what we're after, And I actually stepped into the huddle probably late in the third Saturday, and we couldn't get it going offensively. It may have been the start of the fourth, and got in the middle and told Coach Nowinski to, hey, give me a second here, and I said, come on, guys, you guys got this. You're going to have to get us through this, man. Just keep doing what you're doing, and Key Thompson and Bryce Houston were looking at me, and they looked at me giggling, just like, we got it, Coach. We're good, and it gave me a ton of confidence. I got out of there, and those guys are cool cats, man. It was pretty awesome. But back to answer your question, that's what we're after, and hopefully after some corrections on offense and the defense keeps going, you can see some of that Saturday.